Hey guys, my name is Brandon and welcome to or welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you like what you see in here, you're more than welcome to hit the subscribe button so you stay notified every time I upload a new video. Okay, let's get straight on with today's video. Hey everyone and welcome back to Brandon. So in today's video I'm going to be doing a review to the 5th episode of The Apprentice 2024. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. So, we obviously had the boys team, which was obviously Team Supreme, which consisted of Maura, Onyeka, Sam, Phil and Verdi. And then for the girls team, Team Nexus, we had Trey, Paul, Steve, Faluso, Raj, Flo, Noor and Rachel. So, probably was a little bit unfair, the fact that, you know, one team had a few more than the other. So, yeah, let's see if they actually changed the teams. In terms of the task was for all of the candidates to go to Battersea Power Station within 20 minutes, and the programme episode was actually called Formula E. So I knew it was something to do with racing or driving or cars or something to do with potentially the gaming world. Obviously they were on their way there, and Trey said he had an idea, potentially it was to do with like luxury flats or bars. Sam said the power station obviously was something to do with power, and Maura said potentially it could be something to do with the environment or being able to obviously create something for their next task. Steve also made a joke in the cab saying we're all batter seed, like we're all battered. But yeah, I think it's probably him just referring to the fact that they got up so early or trying to make a joke. But yeah, he always comes out with his little puns. He had the one of going with the flow in the previous episode. So yeah, I think Steve's quite funny, but hopefully, you know, he gets a little bit further. And Lord Sugar basically explained to the candidates that Battersea Power Station actually provides 1/5 of London's electricity, and then for the next task they were to launch a Formula E team, create a brand, so a logo, and obviously try and get sponsorships to obviously include those logos on their Formula E car as well. Flo and Paul were both brought over to the boys team, so it wasn't 3 people brought over, it was just 2. So obviously Flo was on the girls team from the beginning, and Paul, yeah, he came over to the boys team as well. So the teams were now Maura, Onyeka, Sam, Phil, Verdi, with additions of Flo and Paul. And then on the girls team, we only had 6 people, so it was Trey, Steve, Faluso, Raj, Noor and Rachel. Paul put himself for project manager on the boys team, and Trey put himself forward for project manager on the girls team. With the boys team, Flo obviously decided and said that they obviously need to think of who their project manager should be. Maura explained that she can keep positive, and Paul basically said he's watched Formula 1 every series, and he also has a dental industry as well, so that's why they went with Paul. For the girls team, Trey explained that he loves racing, he loves the environment, and he definitely thinks he should be put forward for this task. So it was kind of a boy v boy battle here. Paul kind of went for the idea of Trey obviously went for the idea here that plastic pollution kills marine life, and Noor basically jumped in here saying that, you know, they should protect the sea. Karen explained that Trey's ideas seemed to be all about the sea, but he wasn't able to actually link it back to electric cars. For the boys team, Paul said the competition is Formula 1, so Formula E, Formula 1, 2 completely different sports, but they need to just make sure that they are standing out from their competitors. And he said that electric cars are usually to do with air, so they need to think of E-words that, you know, explain the word electric. So he thought of words like electric, environment, efficient, and by 2040, he said potentially there'd be no more petrol cars. He explained he's also a little bit of a Motorhead fan, and he has a vision of where he wants this task to go. So hopefully he has his idea, and hopefully the branding team actually pull through with that. In terms of Trey and his girls team, so himself, Steve and Rachel were on the corporate side, and on the sub team you had Noor, Faluso, who were both in the branding, with Noor and Raj. Back to the boys team, so I'm going to call it Paul's team. So Verdi was the sub team leader, Phil, Paul, Maura and Flo were on the corporate team. Onyeka explained that she actually had 5 years experience working with corporates, and she should actually then be on the corporate side. So he actually took Maura off of the corporate team and replaced her with Onyeka. So it was Phil, Paul, Onyeka and Flo on the corporate side. Maura, Verdi and Sam went to the branding. In terms of the continuation of the boys team, so Flo basically was told by Paul for her to lead the negotiation, and Verdi explained that they needed to go for some sort of fluid logo, as that was what was described to them by Paul in the morning meeting, and Maura explained that they needed to take some sort of risk with the branding. Verdi jumped in and said potentially something like eco, energy and exhilaration could be the name of the brand. And then we went back to the girls team, who were also then creating the brand. So I think here it was Noor, Raj and Faluso, so 3 of the girls on their team creating their logo. They needed to link water with electrical cars, and Raj basically said for them to create the logo without an electric shock because it kind of didn't really work. Both Noor and Raj said that they needed to add a car onto the logo. Faluso wasn't 100% sure with adding a car. It kind of looked like a game simulation, or, you know, like a driving game rather than promoting a car. And yeah, Noor basically said it's exactly what she envisioned. Raj said she absolutely loved it. And they actually had their little quotation, or their little anagram thing as "see the rebirth of speed." Steve, Trey and Rachel went to Allianz, who are obviously a big car company, and he basically explained that there's obviously a big purpose for them obviously coming to their company. And I think they were kind of discussing all the different deals and how much different parts of the car would be to promote the logos, because I think you've got to think about it. I'm not in this industry, I don't really know how all these sorts of things work, but imagine you've got a product, you've got a car, and you're wanting sponsorships. You're basically charging them for them to be put on your product, but then also they're only going to pay X amount if they're on a place of the product where you can actually see it. So kind of like the doors, maybe the front, the back, the sides. So if you kind of put a logo underneath the car, it's no relevance. So yeah, you're kind of offering money for sponsorships based on what parts of the car are available. So I think here Trey basically jumped in and said the rear and front side pods, oh no, this is when Rachel said that the rear and the side front pods for 15 million each, that would be 30 million in total. Rachel basically said she'll also add in each dampener as well, so she basically brought them down from 30 million to 12 million because they weren't going to pay 30 million. She also said potentially 17 million, you'll get both spots and also a dampener on the car. So she was bringing the price down, but she was adding extra things in. So I guess it's kind of a good thing. It's 17 million, like you can't really go wrong there, but you just got to think, what if the other team get a higher bid? Karen basically said that one of the dampeners on their own is 4 million, and they basically included the dampener within the 17 million. So they're only getting 13 million for the rest of the stuff, 4 million for the dampener. They could have easily got 4 million for that on its own rather than bringing it in with another deal. For the boys team, so for their client Tata, Paul kind of gave a quick overview of what their car was all about. Paul gave an overview, Flo went through the figures, and it was obviously over to Onyeka to kind of explain the ethos of the company, or the kind of the reasons why they were going down the route that they were going in terms of, yeah, linking it to, I guess, no petrol cars. It was kind of like all electric, fast, efficient, things like that. She did stumble on her words a little bit, and Phil, I think, had to jump in on the pitch a little bit. And then I think there was a deal going on where they were trying to get the front pod for 8 million, the front wing for 20 million. Again, Phil also jumped in on that deal as well. So I'm not 100% sure, but I guess Flo basically agreed that they did get 9.8 million in principle. And Paul basically said they should use this as motivation to get higher deals. So I think this was the thing here. Flo was supposed to take the lead for the negotiations. She was kind of going in with all different numbers and, you know, whatever. And then I guess maybe she got a bit confused. Phil just thought, I'm going to just jump in and try and help her. Actually, kind of, it ended up bringing the deal down. For Verdi, Sam and Maura, they had both of the girls representing the brand. So I think Verdi was kind of the director here. He wanted to make sure that for their promotional video, that both of the girls were involved. He said high energy, good vibes. And Tim actually explained that he was kind of a little bit more Steven Spielberg, missing the whole point of the promotion and missing the whole point of, you know, actually including air into the video. For the girls team, Faluso, Raj and Noor, they were also going to create their little video together. Raj was doing a voiceover at the beginning about the safety of e-cars, and she was also wearing a jacket on her head. I guess she was kind of being distracted quite quickly, so she had that on her head to, I guess, avoid being distracted. We're back to the boys team again. Verdi kept saying energy, 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 and for the two of the girls to shout things at each other like energy, electric, efficient, words like that, and he was just going to cut out the parts that he liked the most. And then Sam basically analysed and said that she hopes the finished project comes across good, with Verdi right at the end blowing some wind in both of their faces, and obviously that was the air aspect of the video. Back to the girls team, Trey explained that for their design, the colour of the fish scales should kind of blend into the colour of the sea, so kind of start from what a fish colour sort of is, and then obviously into like a faded blue. Rachel explained that the logo needed to look good because obviously adding extra things where the logos are supposedly going to be is not the best way to do it. So I think here Steve basically jumped in and said, oh, you should add a few hexagons to the front of the car, and she basically said, well, no, that's not really a good idea, because then you're covering the most important part of the car where you're going to put a logo. You don't really want to put a logo on top of a shape or a logo on top of a logo. And she basically kept saying it needs to be clean, and she also added that the boys seem to be carried away with the colours and obviously those extra shapes as well. Back to Paul's team, so they actually created a green car. Phil said there's also some sort of symbol on it of things that they stand for, and then Paul basically explained they should have some sort of hollow tree with flow again, similarly saying to what one of the other girls said on the other team, that actually they should be maximising the space, not just chucking something on just because it's the ethos of the company. And she actually said that the design of the tree that they had actually looked a bit like smoke. Feluso, back from the girls team, said they should show fresh water in the video, so instead of showing, you know, bad water and, you know, the fact that the waters are dangerous and things like that, just to focus on the good stuff. And Raj actually said that they should add a bit of the contaminating video, with Feluso saying you can actually just go ahead and explain that. So I think here it's, I guess both ways would have worked. So you're obviously talking about pollution in the water, so you either show it and then kind of go, oh, well actually, by using our product or by sponsoring us, this is how we can prove to not have that sort of thing going on. Or you just include beautiful water and then just basically say, well actually, there are still waters that are not looking like this, so if you want things to look like this, then you have to, you know, sponsor us to kind of get back on that journey. But yeah, I guess it would have been sensible to add a little bit of dirty water and, you know, animals and insects and stuff getting stuck in things in the water to show that genuinely there are issues in the world. Back on Paul's team, he was actually a little bit confused with the logo and actually the tyre on the logo itself. Phil jumped in and said it looks like a lot of different ideas into one logo. And Verdi, with his two girls, said that he needed to tell a story with the logo, with Paul saying that he hopes the sponsors will understand the logo. With the girls team, Trey said that what they created actually looked like an 80s 8-bit game. Feluso explained that she was persistent to not use the car, but she was obviously outnumbered because both of the other two girls wanted to. And Trey basically said here that he felt like he lost his branding team from this task. Paul also added to the boys team that the design wasn't what he expected, with Phil adding that it was childish. And then for the girls team, Steve said that the logo needed to be sexy and innovative, with Feluso saying that obviously for her little sub team there were 3 different ideas, and they wanted to just keep it fresh and underwater. Obviously they ended up having a car and it being out of the water. Paul basically said to his team that with the trees on the logo, other sponsors might not understand the situation, and Sam also jumped in, I think, here, and that's what she said. And she also admitted that it kind of looked a bit like a fart emoji. So instead of it looking like a hollow tree, it kind of looks like a fart emoji. So I think this part of the task was both of the half teams were analysing each other's content. So you had the branding team analysing the, I guess, the concept of the car, and then obviously the concept of the car analysing the branding, the logo, and things like that. Again for the girls team, so Trey said he was excited to show the movie, and he said the blue of the sea is classic, and obviously it allows the video to flow. For the boys team, they basically said not to put a logo on top of another graphic. And I think that when they were discussing with the clients here, Paul basically said the orange, green and white is kind of a sign of India, so it's the main colours of India, and they actually wanted a 12 million deal, and wondered if the client actually wanted to put their logo on the top. With Tim actually analysing here again that the team originally only had an offer of 9.8 million and now they actually had a total of 15 million. So I think the fact here that Paul and his kind of little team were not really sure about the colours, and then they kind of realised, well actually there's some sort of like India representation here, let's just make out that was our, you know, part of the plan of the thing, and it actually worked out. So really, really smart move there from Paul. And then back on Trey's team with the ocean, The client that they went to said actually the clip that they showed was of a mountain lake. It wasn't actually of an ocean. There was no pollution shown, and they actually did the complete opposite to the other team. They brought the money down from 17 million to 8 million. Rachel said it was a little bit too low, and she said, can we agree at a 10 million deal? And Karen explained that obviously the client didn't like the logo and obviously didn't like the video. Rachel said that the sub team have questions to answer for because their logo and their little video promotional video were obviously not that great. Paul explained from the boys team that the pitching was obviously the most important part, and Onyeka had to hammer on the importance of air pollution. And then with Trey, he said that he was going to lead the pitch about the pollution in the sea. It was unsafe for the animals. The logos on the car would be something to kind of show that they're caring for the future, and obviously their kids, they're focusing and caring on their kids. With Paul and the boys team, he obviously mentioned the fact that air pollution causes a lot of massive issues. Onyeka said that starting from change or trying to drive through change or drive on change starts with doing something now. She actually ended up stumbling on her words a little bit, but I think she kind of managed to pick herself back up a little bit. And she basically said reducing public pollution is something that we want to stop going forward. So the fact that people are polluting all the time, sometimes even without realising the importance of changing things, just simply one little bit at a time, will allow you to obviously go forward. At the end of their pitches, they were obviously able to discuss with different clients who were in the audience watching their pitches, plus all the sponsors who were there as well, to try and get some extra sponsorships at the end. So Paul managed to get a 5 million deal with Lucozade. Verdi was speaking to a company called AECom, with the client asking them about their brand values, and Phil basically said that the clients are tying them in knots, kind of getting them confused around their own words, so it was a little bit confusing there. For the girls team, Rachel said that they could offer a near side pod for 12 million or a pair of rear tops for 10 million. She tried to ask for 8 million and then finally got to a deal of 9 million for the both. For Phil and the boys team, he basically was told that putting a brand within a brand is obviously not going to work. The designer slogan were not good enough. And Verdi said that orange is obviously not one of his favourite colours, so it kind of didn't really work with the branding. Flo said the colour of the brand is pink, so Flo was told by one of the clients that the colour of their brand was pink, so it would obviously not really work, so it would clash a little bit. Paul got a 1.5 million deal and Rachel got a 1.5 million deal. So we didn't really see totals, we didn't really see all of the companies that all of the candidates spoke to, but at the end, two nice little deals there. Very small, but still adds an extra 1 million and a bit to the prize pot for them. In the boardroom, Steve, Trey and Rachel were up first. So they basically explained there were 10 spots for the different logos on the car. Rachel's highest deal was for £8 million, and she tried to go for 15. She ended up getting a total of 17 million. So they kind of went from 8 to 15, ended up getting 17 for the three, with Steve saying that actually Rachel was quite good at the negotiations there. As Trey also said, they went for the colours of the ocean, so mainly blue. And Lord Sugar said that it kind of looks like the speed of a pedalo. Nor explained that for the logo and the understanding of the story, that it kind of does really make sense, and she obviously explained it while it was obviously playing. Faluso said that there seemed to be three completely different ideas, and that obviously the sub-team leader didn't really work. Lord Sugar then actually jumped in and said, why didn't you add videos of the dirty water or turtles with the plastic or things like that? And then Rachel added, well actually there wasn't really much alignment from the branding team, the logo and obviously the video. And then Trey said he was actually quite good in front of the audience, and he hopefully has managed to spin things around. With the boys team, Paul focused on air pollution, global warming, and Flo opened a deal up at 20 to 8 million pounds, and she ended up getting a 9 million pound deal. She also said that Phil jumped in on her deal when actually she was told to take the lead, and Phil said he was just trying to reinforce messages and then obviously pass the dealings back to Flo, where she actually said here, well, you know, by the time he jumped in, I kind of lost where I was and wasn't able to just continue the deal as from where I left off. Lord Sugar said that they actually also spelt the word acceleration wrong, with Tim saying that they missed an A. Verdi said that he actually added one of Trey's tracks to the background of the video. It's kind of giving him royalties for that. But I guess that was just a bit of fun, and it just, I guess, was a song that worked. Sam said that she wanted to add a tyre to the logo. It would have been a little bit more interactive, adding a tyre. And Paul basically said that with green, orange and white, they had to make sure they had brand continuity. So obviously the fact that they used those three colours from kind of the Indian flag, the other team didn't manage to continue to use those colours. So in total, he did manage to get a deal, £15 million for 4 spots. Again, I'm not sure how incredibly great that was, but in total, Nexus got a £10 million deal, Supreme also got a £15 million deal. And in total, so for Tim and the boys' teams, this was Paul's team, they actually got an extra 6.5 million, which gave them a total of 21.5 million. And then for Karen and the girls, which is obviously Team Trey, they got another 28.7 million, so that brought them to a total of 38.7 million, and it was the girls' team who won. The 6 of them were off to do indoor skydiving, and Karen basically said it was very impressive this week, I guess for both teams, but just that little bit more for the girls' team, obviously. Trey said he obviously was really, really good, I guess, with the microphone in front of the audience. And Rachel explained that it was nice for her to be recognised as one of the top negotiators, with Falusa saying that the 3 of them, their team smashed it, and Trey was actually really, really good as project manager. In terms of the other team, Flo basically said that Phil was disrespectful, interjecting in the deal. Phil said Flo's reactions and antics won't get her very far in the process. Onyeka said that the branding and the video team didn't really do much this week. Verdi said Onyeka didn't sell the brand or the ethos in the pitch, and the fact that she stumbled, yes, I know sometimes mistakes happen, but that was a really, really important pitch that they needed to make sure that they sold their ethos, and that wasn't sold. Paul explained that he's not going to hold everyone's hands, and that's why as a project manager, that's why you delegate tasks to people. And Verdi and Paul were both told that they've had actually more losses being in the cafe than any of the other contestants at the moment. They're obviously boys on the boys team, and they've still managed to lose every task on the boys team, and also now being on the boys team still. Paul said that he wanted to bring in both Phil and Onyeka, and Onyeka basically said that she was actually quite good at the negotiation, and she felt like there was disruption from Phil interjecting. Verdi said nothing was explained by her properly during the pitch. Onyeka said that the sponsors said they didn't like the branding on the logo, and Maura said that she didn't think the entire car would be orange, wondering about the ethos, like what was actually discussed there. Did they actually manage to plan anything? Paul also said Onyeka wasn't able to sell the ethos, with Verdi saying that there were 6 different people who he spoke to who didn't understand the ethos, because obviously it's the way that she explained it. So yeah, Paul basically said he was bringing in Verdi and Onyeka, so he changed his mind from Phil to Verdi. He said for Verdi it was purely because of the branding, and for Onyeka it was purely because of the fact of her not explaining the ethos. Karen said about Verdi that he claims to be a branding expert, but obviously didn't show that in this task. So for Tim, he discussed about Paul, that he seemed to have a big racing plan, and the fact that he wanted the logo to be fluid wasn't a very clear explanation for his team. And then Karen said about Onyeka that she didn't explain the ethos very well, and there was potentially millions of pounds ready for the taking if she was just to have explained her part a little bit better. Lord Sugar said that both the logo and the video suck, and claims of what Verdi can do are, I guess, well, they weren't what he thought that it was going to be. Like, he thought that it was going to be something amazing, and it ended up just being not. Verdi said that the 3 E's of the slogan were the 3 words: the exciting, exhilaration, whatever, that obviously showed off the electric cars, and they needed to be fluid with their logo. And as a creative, he's obviously going to be creative when creating the logo. Lord Sugar said that the ethos was obviously not explained, and Onyeka said that Paul could have picked her up, or told her where she went wrong in the pitch. So instead of just kind of letting her sink and not actually be there to help, because I guess it is still a team pitch at the end of the day, yeah, he could have jumped in to kind of save her a little bit. And then he jumped in and said, well, actually, you let me down on the pitch. With Onyeka saying, you didn't push the pitch. And obviously the branding wasn't strong enough. So yeah, she didn't exactly do well with the ethos of the company, but with the branding team, that was just not strong enough at all. And I guess both of those parts let them down. So it could have been one or the other, or it could have been the both of them together. Lord Sugar basically said about Paul that he is obviously the boss of the task. He is surely responsible for the outcome. Verdi wasn't a good director, and he kind of just seemed very clueless. And for Onyeka, she didn't really explain the ethos properly. And obviously that is quite a serious thing, especially in a task where you're all about the ethos, all about the reasons why you're doing a particular thing. Verdi explained that Onyeka's input in the task was really, really bad, and Lord Sugar basically said to Onyeka, although she is charming and intelligent lady, Onyeka was going to be fired from this week. Lord Sugar said to both of the others, go back to the house, with Phil saying that no one was really responsible. I kind of guess it was all of their responsibility, but at the same time. So that was kind of it for episode 5. It's really, really sad to see Onyeka fired. I think she was one of the good ones. She could have gone all the way. I just think just little silly mistakes here and there, and obviously not being able to express her thoughts of the ethos in that pitch kind of led her to be fired. But it was still a really, really great task. I'm not saying that they did everything wrong, but they did a lot of things right. But yeah, the ethos and the lack of the branding connecting with the actual the car itself, yeah, I guess they were two massive issues. So yeah, so that's all now. I think we have 12 candidates left, so until week 6, I hope you do enjoy the reaction, and if you did, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. And until my next review, thank you for watching, and goodbye.